Hey there from Unity of Yucaipa. We have been going through our 12 Powers series. Now, our 12 Powers, they're the inner gifts that we came into this life with. And it's the way that our divine nature is able to interact with our physical nature so that it's easier to align with the Christ consciousness working through us, for us, as us. So, the more that we can work with our 12 powers, the more that our soul can reveal through us our true nature in how we are living our lives, how we show up for every day. So today I want to talk about the power of divine understanding. And divine understanding is the ability to perceive and know beyond what we see, beyond the condition, beyond the appearance of things, and to learn that there's something deeper at work that we may never really get all the details about. Now, the disciple that represents this power of divine understanding is Thomas. Now, when I first heard of Thomas, I heard his name as Doubting Thomas. And Thomas, he did doubt, but then he asked questions. Now, when his teacher was crucified and then he rose from his grave 3 days later, right, teacher Yeshua, Thomas wondered, how could this be? And so when he does finally get to see his teacher, he asks him, how could this happen? How is it he can be raised from the dead? And teacher Yeshua just says, look, I did die. I did die on the cross. Here are my wounds. If you want to touch them, you can. And so Thomas learned and Thomas gained understanding because he asked questions. He didn't really totally know what was going on, right? Because there's something deeper at work that we will probably never know how is working. Okay, but Thomas was able to understand through divine understanding. It's like, okay, this happened. This happened. Understanding invites us to be okay, knowing that we don't know what we don't know, and we may never know. So, how often have we experienced doubt, but we didn't question it? We didn't ask questions. How often have we maybe wondered about something, wondered if it was the right thing or maybe the wrong thing, but we did not question it? Spiritual understanding starts with questions. Questions are door openers. When we learn or when we ask questions, we learn things, right? I could ask you, who is your favorite band? And you would tell me, and then I would learn something about you, right? So we learn when we ask questions. When we question our way of thinking, this is when we start creating transformation in our life. Okay, when we ask questions like, is it okay to complain? Or am I just venting? Right? We learn something, don't we? Am I seeing into the world as God sees? Am I seeing through the eyes of my soul? Okay, we ask questions. Now, when we start questioning, we learn things that help to move us forward. So how do we get divine understanding? We start with a question. Okay, maybe a question would sound like this. What would it take to accomplish this thing? Okay, what would it take? Then we have to receive an idea. We receive the inspiration, or maybe we receive something we can get curious about. I know when I was really into I'm always into asking questions now. But I remember when I first got interested in the idea of change your thinking, change your life. And because I thought it was fascinating, but still, I thought it was just kind of a new agey platitude, like what you think about, you bring about. And I knew that this didn't feel true, because I would think about the things I wanted, but I wasn't getting things I wanted. I was getting all the things I didn't want, right? Because I just didn't have that understanding. But I kept asking, how can I change my thinking to change my life? And then I would see things in my environment, like maybe I saw a sign, or I'd hear things in my environment. Maybe I'd hear a song, or I'd overhear a conversation. And of course, I heard all the things, all the new agey platitudes, right, that are just prevalent everywhere. What comes around goes around. And which is sort of like, well, you get what you give. But that still didn't feel right because I would, like, I remember one time I helped somebody move and I expected her to later on help me move. It didn't work out that way, right? She didn't feel like it. Okay. Or the proverb about you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Now, when I heard that one, I thought, okay, reaping, when you sow things, you're planting seeds, right? And so I started thinking, all right, this is about planting seeds and my thoughts. My thoughts are planting seeds. And so I will tend my life as a garden. And that means pulling weeds and that means watering it, nourishing the garden. Okay, but still, I didn't have what I wanted in my life. Then I heard this quote, and I mean, everybody's been hearing this quote for forever, but I was reading the Rhonda Burns book, The Magic, and she talks about this quote from Sir Isaac Newton. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. In hearing her quote this in her book about gratitude, I received a deeper level of understanding. I started thinking about, okay, like for every action, maybe I complain, there's an equal opposite reaction. I get more to complain about. For every action, maybe I resent somebody. There's an equal and opposite reaction. I get more to resent. For every action, I felt gratitude. There's an equal opposite reaction. I receive more to be grateful for. Now that was when the understanding of the power of monitoring our inner conversations hit me, right? That's when I started learning that. Okay, that's how we're changing our thinking. We change our thinking to change our lives because we pay attention to all the things we think about, not just the 5 minutes we do our affirmations in the morning. That's not going to solve all our problems, okay? Not if we're thinking really negatively all throughout the day. Eric Butterworth says, and I know I quote this so much, man is not in the world to set it right, but to see it rightly. When we look out at the world, we have to be willing to see beyond the things that bother us, the things that we think have to change so everybody can be happy. Because if we get focused on those things, that's where we get stuck. Seeing the world rightly gives us a deeper understanding that this universe is filled with moving parts, and God can express through any situation, any condition. So, what can we do to experience divine understanding? Well, we can start with asking questions. Ask questions, ask for help, but ask for something. One of my favorite questions is, how can I see this differently? Or how can I know what is mine to do? How about help me to understand what's really going on here? You know, in the Course in Miracles talks about every action is either the expression of love or needing love. Okay? Help me to see the world. Help me to see these conditions. Help me to see my life through the light of my soul. So we ask. And then we act on that inspiration. We act, we listen, we act. If we feel curious about something, we follow that curiosity. If we get inspired to try something new or go someplace new, we listen and we act. And then we remember again, there are a lot of moving parts in this universe, and we cannot always know why things are the way they are. We are on the journey of our own life, but the people around us are also on their own journey too. And we may not like what's going on someplace else, but who are we to say how God should be or shouldn't be working in their lives? Who are we to say that that's not a part of their spiritual journey? Now, I'm not saying ignore bad things, but ask. Ask, what can I do in this situation? Right? Listen and act. And then also it's like, is it mine to stay in my own lane right now? Right? So there are a lot of moving parts in this universe. And we will not know why things happen about most everything. So we listen, And then we see our lives through the light of our soul. When we see our life through the light of our soul, this is life-changing. When we can see things differently, this is transformational. When we can look at the conditions of our life and ask, how might Source express through this situation? Instead of complaining about it, right? How might Source express through this situation? This is transformational. And this is what we're here for. We are here to learn, to change our thinking so that we can change our lives. We are here to experience transformation and expand our consciousness. So here's our call to action for this week. We'll start with an affirmation. Divine understanding directs my life, right? I'm going to say it again, and you can say it with me. Divine understanding directs my life. Divine understanding directs my life. Having our lives directed by divine understanding means that we are doing something with that divine understanding. We have asked a question, or we have asked for help or support. We listen, and then we take action, and then we start showing up to our life in a different way. Charles Fillmore said, "No one ever attained spiritual consciousness without striving for it. Nobody ever expanded their consciousness without working on it. Nobody ever experienced transformation without listening and acting and changing their way of thinking so that they could change their life." We are designed to allow divine understanding to direct us, but we have to do our part too. Ask, listen, take action, repeat. And any of us who practice, well, we know if we practice anything, we get good at it, right? We get better and better at it the more we practice. So we listen, we act, or we listen, we ask, we listen, we take action, right? And then we do it all again. So here is our invitation for this week. Sometime through this week, all of us will probably have an opportunity to practice this. We might be having a reaction to conditions in our life or the world. We might be worrying about how things could work out. We might be doubting that things could ever work out. So we ask, first of all, we ask, how can I see this differently? How can I know what is mine to do? Help me to understand what's really going on here. Help me to see through the light of my soul. And then we listen, we act. We listen, we act. And this is how we are creating heaven on earth. So remember, until next time, that you are divinely designed to be doing all of this. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. And if you like this, please like and subscribe, and share with a friend who you think may need to hear this today.